All right, so let's get your hands on the device here.
Okay.
So the first part I'm going to show you is going to be the sunglasses that you wear.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
So essentially, it's just a pair of Oakley sunglasses.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's just a pair of sunglasses, yeah.
Exactly, and then right at the center, above your nose, where your nose would go, that's where the camera is mounted.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to feel that, it's right over here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about an inch, kind of like outwards.
Okay.
But that's the camera there. And then on the left-hand side, I know you've got your hand on a little round piece straight up here. So there's a little round piece with a horizontal line.
Mm-hmm.
Can you feel that?
Yeah.
So what this is it's actually the tilt function. So instead of tilting your head downwards
you would
upward,
tilt the camera.
You can do both.
Oh.
It just makes it a little bit easier, and you're not crooking your neck to like
exactly.
Look at things. So there's kind of a tilt function there.
Oh wow.
And then if you follow that last cord, so it's a little bit longer, it's going to lead you right on over to
like a big box.
The controller. So the big box is the controller, and then the top, there's just a marker so you know if it's oriented properly.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it does nothing up there. Now, I'm going to set it on the table. I'm going to kind of walk you through what's on the controller.
Okay.
So there are 4 buttons,
dots,
kind of in the shape of a compass or a clock.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do northeast, southwest, or 12, 3, 6, or 9 o'clock, whatever one you want to do. So obviously those do different things. And then on the 2 sides, there are little rollers.
I see that, yeah, they're like little knobs.
Exactly. So one side's going to help you out with zooming, so you can zoom in and out.
Okay.
And then the other side's going to be your ability to kind of increase or decrease the stimulus.
Okay.
So the stimulus is not set. It's something that you would set as you kind of use it.
Okay.
The reason for that is, some people are just a little more sensitive than
others.
Right.
You'd find out what's comfortable for you.
Exactly. So we're not going to say, hey, everyone has to use, stimulus X, because that wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
Okay. And then these rollers not only roll up and down, but you can also push them inwards. So it's kind of like a button as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously we saw the compass, and then below that there are 2 buttons. So there's one on the left and there's one on the right, and those, we'll kind of go over what that does.
Okay.
And then if you go back to the sunglasses there on the left side, right behind that round tilt. So here is the tilt button, right?
Tilt.
And then right here, you follow that down, it takes you to another cord. So essentially there are 2 cords.
Oh, and that's the, and this
is the
box.
intraoral, so it's actually in a case, so I'll take it out for you.
Okay.
And this is obviously the part that's going to go in the mouth.
Yeah.
So here you go.
Oh,
It's a little square piece.
Looks like a stick.
Yeah, it's kind of like a stick or a lollipop or whatever else.
Yeah.
And obviously it gets a little more rigid as you get closer to the actual square part.
Yeah.
And then the square part actually has 2 sides. So one side is a little bit more rounded, and the other side is flat.
Flat, yeah.
So the flat side is the part that's going to actually make surface.
Oh,
or
okay.
make contact with the surface of your tongue.
Okay.
So before we do that, I'm going to have you put the device on.
Okay.
So go ahead and throw those on, just like a cool pair of sunglasses there.
Yeah, look at me, I'm styling.
And then for some people, there is a kind of like a cord on the right-hand side. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we can extend it, but what this does is there's a little magnetic piece, and it's just, some people like the extra sturdy.
Oh, so it like behind the head?
Yep. And then that little piece actually just sticks. It's a magnet.
Oh, cool.
And then you can tug on this rubbery part while pulling that. There you go, to tighten it.
Actually, I like that a lot. That's cool.
Yeah, because, everyone's faces are a little bit different, and, for some people it's a lot bigger, some people it's not, so, all right. So I'm going to actually teach you how to turn on the device, okay? So we're going to actually connect in what's called the Wi-Fi mode, and this is so that Mom, Sister, and I can kind of look at what you're looking at.
Oh, cool.
And this is something that we use for training purposes. It's going to kind of allow you guys to understand how the device works and what parts he's going to pick up and what part he's not going to pick up. All right, so remember those 2 rollers?
Yeah.
And what we want to do is we want to push them both in.
At the same time?
And then with your thumb, there's actually a power button down at the bottom there. So you want to push 3 buttons at the same time. So I would hit the rollers in first.
And then push the button.
And then push the power button. And then you hear 2 beeps. So the way I like to think about it is 2 beeps is Wi-Fi. Okay, I don't know. And then when you're using it by yourself, for example, you won't need to do it in Wi-Fi mode.
Okay.
Because if no one's going to be, using the training program, then there's no point in having it in Wi-Fi.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Well, that's cool. So they'll be able to see what I'm doing. Okay.
Yep. And then you should hear some feedback here. So it's going to click. The clicking just lets you know that it's booting.
Okay.
And then when it's done, it'll give you a prompt.
Wi-Fi enabled. Hey.
All right. So that just tells you that Wi-Fi mode is on. And give me 1 second. I'm going to connect through my laptop, okay?
Okay. Cass, is our camera picking up good?
Yep.
Cool.
I'm checking on it every once in a while to make sure that you can see everything.
What's that, Cass?
So I've been checking on it to make sure you can see everything good. I might move it a little bit.
Okay.
Once you start using it.
All right. So basically, the purpose of our demo today is to kind of get you acquainted with the device.
Okay.
So that you can kind of determine, is this what I thought it was? Is this something that I'm going to be able to do? So on and so forth. So I'm going to kind of walk you through some of the brief things just to help you understand what it feels like as a user.
Okay.
Okay? So let me take the IOD out of the box here. So what I like to tell people is when you put the IOD, I'm going to call it an IOD for intraoral device.
Okay.
You can call it a lollipop. You can call it whatever you want. When you put the IOD in your mouth, you're never going to feel anything.
Okay.
Okay, so, and the reason for that is the intensity will always be at 0 when you start up the device.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I don't want you to think that you're going to put it in and something's going to shock you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was wondering about that too, yeah.
Yep, so intensity is always going to be set to 0.
0, okay.
So you just kind of put it in, then you work your way up.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and grab that lollipop or the IOD, and the flat part's going to make contact with your tongue. There you go. All right, good. So intensity is going to be at 0, so you're not going to feel anything. Now what I'd like you to do is grab the controller. And what we're looking at here is the camera image is on the left side. So this is exactly what the camera is picking up. And then on the right-hand side is what's known as the tongue display. So as he starts upping the intensity, you're going to start to see some pixelated images. And then I'll kind of walk you through what parts are the intensity and one part isn't. Okay, so on your left-hand side, that roller on the controller, so it's right there. You want to roll that left side upwards. So it's kind of like you're starting to roll, and it's going to be a while. So it goes, every notch is just one step in intensity. So for example, we're at 4, and you're probably going to be somewhere closer to like 50 or 60. So just keep going until you can feel something. Okay. And if you want to do it more, you can. If you're comfortable here, the goal here is I want you to tell me which way. I have a bar out in front of you. And your job is to tell me which way it's oriented. Is it horizontal? Is it vertical? And so for us...
Horizontal.
Okay, so I want you to reach out and touch that bar there. Were you right? Okay, excellent. Now, I'm going to change the orientation a little bit. And I want you to look at it again. And what about this time?
Up and down.
Go ahead and feel for it. Okay, excellent. So what's happening here is the white part is the stimulus that he's seeing. So anything that's white is high in intensity, and then anything that's darker is going to be less, he's not going to be able to feel those parts. So essentially what it's doing is it's creating a contrast. Anything that's white is the stimulus that he would feel. All right? So what about now? A little trickier, right? If you're not sure and you want to describe it to me, you can.
It feels like you're turning it around.
Okay. Can you show me with your hand kind of which way you think?
I feel like it's going like around in a circle like that.
Okay, so let's take a look at it again.
Okay.
And if it helps, I could not move it, but I've kind of been moving it just a little bit. And then what I'd like you to do is I want you to kind of feel. So it's actually at a diagonal.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now that I've told you that, can you feel that diagonal line on your tongue?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not vertical, it's not horizontal, right? Now I'm going to go back to what we've done before.
Mm-hmm.
What direction is this?
Horizontal.
Excellent. So what I want to show you now is I'm going to start moving it. So you stay where you are and I'll move the bar.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm doing here is I'm dropping the horizontal line lower in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're doing spatial concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel it at the tip of your tongue or the back of your tongue?
Yep.
Okay, good. So anything that's lower in the world is going to be felt at the tip of the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if I move things higher into the world, where does that go?
Back.
Excellent. So does that kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now lefts and rights are going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So left side, and then it moved over to the right side,
Mm-hmm.
right? So lefts and rights are consistent. Up and downs are going to be a little bit different because tip of the tongue, back of the tongue, which is higher up in the world. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like you to do now is I'm going to give you the bar, and you can kind of move it around, do what you need to do. And if you don't see anything, it's because it's not in the camera's view. So you want to kind of hold it up. There you go. And then you can move it, you can change the direction, whatever it is you'd like to do. So actually, here's a question for you. When you brought that bar closer to you, what happens?
It went in the bar.
It got bigger, right?
Mhm.
So it takes up more space on your tongue, right? And then if you move it further out, and let me move it even further out, what happens? It gets, it feels a little bit smaller, right? And less intense. So that is kind of like your depth cue. So it doesn't give you depth perception per se, but it's going to give you an idea as to whether something is closer to you or if something is further out. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So what I'd like you to try next is I want you to kind of stick out your hands. And I want you to try looking at your hands. So spread your fingers out, look down a little bit. Okay, there you go. Now try wiggling your fingers. And as you wiggle, can you feel the movement on your tongue? Okay. So this is just more of like self-exploration, right? So if you made a fist and then just stuck out one nice finger.
Nice finger.
Yeah, you might have to lift it up a little bit to see it a little bit better and look down. Okay, there you go. So there's, okay, now try good wiggling it, moving it. Stick out two fingers if you want. Wiggle those. Oh, good, okay. And then now try waving. So what you're doing now is you're kind of feeling the movement that you're making, right? So even like left to right, you're feeling that motion, right? Okay, good. All right. So you can take that IOD out at any time, by the way, just to be clear. Now, we're going to try something a little different.
Yeah.
How's your tongue feeling?
It's fine.
Okay, good. So now, it's not
you build up a lot of saliva.
Yeah, so you can definitely take it out to swallow. It's
Okay.
not something that you need to keep in at all times. It's kind of like when you need the information, you put it in.
Right.
And then you can take it out. All right? So now we're going to be working with something on the table here, okay?
Okay.
So what I'd like you to do is I want you to kind of orient your head a little bit so that you can find this object that I placed on the table. And when you found it, I want you to kind of try to get it centered on your tongue. So move your head, try downwards just a little bit. There you go. And then try to get it so that it's kind of sitting at the tip and at the center of your tongue. So move, there you go, good. Now look down a little bit more. Okay. Now from where we are now, I want you to kind of just study this object that I've put out in front of you. And I want you to try to describe its shape or just tell me something about this object on the table. What do you think? And I'll let you feel it in a second. So try doing this as well. You can also try like kind of tracing the shape of the object. So just do really small micro movements with your head, right? So essentially I'm gonna move your head around a little bit there. So what I want you to do is I want you to kind of do something like this, right? Does that help you kind of feel the shape a little bit better, or was that the same? Okay.
I'd say round.
Okay, so I want you to reach out.
Ah, it's a ball.
Okay, good.
So it was it was round. I could feel that.
Okay, excellent. So now that you know what a round object, and this is kind of how the training protocol would work, right? So I would put something out in front of you. I'd ask you to kind of study it, describe it to me, and then I'd let you actually tactily feel it with your hands. So now we're making kind of like that connection, right? So now what I'm going to do is I've placed 2 objects on the table, okay? So what I want you to do first is confirm that I'm not lying to you, okay? So look at one object. Oh, that's a little far. Good. Look down a little bit. There you go. So there's one, right? And then is there a second one? So look to your right just a little bit. So you kind of want to look at one object at a time if you can. So what about that? Is there something there? Okay. So am I lying or am I telling you the truth? Are there 2 objects? Okay. Now what I'd like you to tell me is, what's the shape of the second object that I put out there?
I feel like that's either somewhat rounded or square.
Okay. So it is round. Okay.
Yeah. That does. Yeah, that feels round.
Good. Now I want you to tell me which one is smaller and which one is larger. The one on the left or the one on the right? So there's...
I feel like the left is bigger.
Okay, so I'm going to hand you both the balls here, and
Okay.
you're going to tell me if you're right or wrong.
Okay.
So there's your left ball.
Left.
And then there's...
Oh, so right was smaller. Okay, so I was right,
So
yeah.
you're right.
Left was bigger, yeah.
So how did you know?
I felt like the left one took up more surface area.
Good.
And I felt like the right one I had to really kind of like focus in on.
Okay, good.
Um,
So that's exactly how you kind of determine size, right?
Yeah.
So if it takes up more space on your tongue and the stimulus is a little bit more, then it's going to tell you that the object is larger, right? So if you're
Right.
comparing 2 objects in size, that's how you would know.
Okay.
Okay? So that's really good. So now what